let the dogs out. Like, who let the dogs out? Who?
Off the Hook, airing on offthehooksports.com. Your home news, real opinions, and what really matters about Tennessee athletics. Always available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn, iHeart. Like, share, follow, subscribe. Always available wherever you find your favorite podcasts.
What a performance by the Vols. Wow. Did not see that coming. 40-13 over LSU. And a Tennessee player runs afoul of the law, and he is an important player. Plenty to talk about today. Chris Landry will join us as well. So there is a lot to get to. Good morning, Amanda LaFratta. How are you?
I am doing well, Dave. How are you?
I'm well. What the H? It's cold. It was like yesterday I worked from the house, and I didn't get cold once, and I felt perfectly fine. And then today it's cold. What happened?
I don't know. I hate cold. I hate cold. I'm always cold.
I've gotten, as Amanda knows, I'm because sometimes I text her at like 5 a.m. I'm pretty addicted to going to the gym lately, and I woke up and we hadn't turned our heat on yet, and I was like, no. I wrote a story about the kid we're about to talk about, and I went right back to sleep. So, good morning. I'm well rested. At least there is that. So, Chris Landry will join us. Let's get to the down and dirty at 30, and it is a little bit downer and dirtier than you would like for it to be because Tennessee had a player arrested. But first, the down and dirty at 30 brought to you by Honey Bee Coffee. Amanda, it is just phenomenal coffee. And I mentioned last week I was in an office setting and all they had was coffee. So I'm one of those Keurig things. And I thought, well, I drink some coffee at Honey Bee. I'll be fine because coffee typically gives me a headache. Honey Bee never, ever has. And I've drank 3 cups before sitting with Amanda just a couple of weeks ago. It's just that good of coffee. And it's the top 5% of beans. It's just awesome.
It really is. Like, it's really good coffee. And I hate that. I got the Wisconsin accent. Have you noticed that? Instead of saying coffee, I say coffee. Ugh.
I haven't noticed that. I haven't seen that. No, I mean,
It's still great coffee, regardless of how you say it. It's just really good.
Well, certainly check it out, and you can find them. They've got locations all over Knoxville. We encourage you to go to their e-commerce store. If you go to honeybeecoffeeco.com, honeybeecoffeeco.com. All righty, so here we go. We're planning out the show yesterday. All's good, and we get up for our 5 o'clock production meeting, maybe not quite that early, and then there is news that you don't want to hear about, but let's discuss. Jaylen McCullough arrested over the weekend yesterday, as a matter of fact, according to multiple reports, but by the News Sentinel, it happened at 2030 Grand Avenue. Upon arriving at the scene, the alleged victim of the attack, the aggravated felony assault alleged, he had a bloody, swollen mouth and was missing teeth when police arrived. So apparently what happened is this man admittedly was drinking with his friends and went to the car to get something. I don't know what he went to get, but he comes back and he goes to the wrong apartment, knocks on the door. Nobody answers, probably thinks his buddies are playing a joke on him, opens the door, and there is reportedly Jaylen McCullough and a young lady. So at that point, he exits the building and exits the apartment and begins to walk away. According to the report, a man follows him and eventually punches him in the mouth, knocking him down some stairs. So the alleged victim said at one point that he, quote, didn't have to be a blank about it. There are a lot of questions. There's a lot of gray area. Well, let's talk about this from a football perspective before we get to what the H were you thinking. And that is Jaylen McCullough is one of Tennessee's better defensive backs amongst a group that's really not that good. So if they lose him, it would be the second player lost, with Warren Burrell, who was sidelined for the remainder of the season due to an undisclosed injury. So now you've had three players that have been arrested over the past month. You had Savion Herring from Monroe College in New Rochelle, New York, and linebacker William Mohan from Michigan. Neither of those dudes were going to play, I'm told, and they were booted immediately. And it's easy to say, rah, rah, rah. Josh Heupel, you did the exact right thing. You got them off the team. This one's a little bit more difficult. And I just want to get your take to start. Amanda, what do you think of this story? What's your immediate rapid reaction?
This is awful. I mean, this is such a bad look. And I don't think that they would have arrested him if there wasn't a reason for them to think that he was the one that actually perpetrated said punch to the mouth.
Sure,
Still, yeah. It's just a punch to the mouth. Knocking out teeth is a lot, but I mean, it's just, if you are in this situation now, if you are Jaylen McCullough, if you are the one, you're getting paid now. You're not a kid anymore. This is not since the days of NIL, you're getting money. You act like you're getting money. This is just like having any other job. This is not, you're not representing the school anymore. You are, but you're not. You're no longer this like, oh, he's a kid, he's a student, he makes mistakes, yada, yada, yada. No, you're getting NIL money. You act like you're employed. That's what you do. It's the end of discussion.
Well, but you also are that's all true. You also are a representation of the university, and I've been really impressed by this sense of team that the Vols have had, and the fact that they do stick up for one another. Now, let's look at the incident specifically, because yes, he's going to face more criticism, and players will as we move forward in things like this, because they are getting paid. It's different. You don't shelter them because they're amateur athletes. So, but let's look, and some of the people are offering some of their thoughts. John says, well, dude said some stuff to Jalen. Yes, true. John said that came inside his apartment while drunk, though. Yes, true. So I'm with you. I mean, I wasn't there. I don't know the gray area. I will tell you that when I was 19 years old and 18 years old and living at a dorm, and they had the split bathroom, that I did something very similar. I went to a Doors cover band and watched them, and overly indulged, broke the law in and of itself in that. I was 18. And I beat on a door because I got confused, and it was not my dorm room. The guys opened the door. They were a cool couple of stoner dudes, and they were like, "Hey man, wrong room." And I'm like, "Oh, my bad." So that was it. Now, but had I barged into the room, and let's say something was going on romantically, I don't know. But had I barged into the room, I could see how they would be upset. You don't punch somebody. I could also see that you follow somebody, and this guy, he admitted to saying you don't have to be a bleep about it. He very well could have said a little bit more. It seems like...
What's the bleep?
Don't be a jerk about it. And don't accept...
Okay.
Okay. So he admitted to saying that. So did he say more? Did he say, hey, jackwagon, don't be a bleep about it? Was there a real altercation? I don't know. The police didn't seem to think so. I want to give Jaylen McCullough credit for just coming back, showing up to the scene. He did leave the scene. He could have punched him and not known how serious it was, yada, yada, yada. But he did come back to the scene. He fessed up. He was arrested. So there is a lot of gray area here. And the reason I discuss the gray area is really because of football. I'm not discussing the gray area over the morality of it. It was a stupid encounter by everybody involved. We can all agree with that. The dude that went in the room, the Jaylen McCullough coming out, confronting him again. There was probably yipping and yapping back, and then the punch. So I'm looking at this purely from a football perspective, and it will be interesting to see, because of the gray area, how Josh Heupel handles this. It was very easy to kick the dudes off that I just mentioned earlier. They weren't any good. There's a player I mentioned one time who referenced a high school young lady, and she had the private school mini skirt plaid thing, and he made a reference to her, and he was thrown off the team. Well, he wasn't any good, so it was an easy way to free up a scholarship. This guy's good. This guy's important. So I'm interested to see how Josh Heupel handles this. Will he be suspended for the Alabama game? That just when you look at felony aggravated assault, you automatically would think, yes, you're suspended for the next game. I mean, that just on surface, okay? But Amanda, here's how these things go. So if this has not happened already, and since it was last night, I'm going to assume it hasn't. But here's how these things go. Josh Heupel calls Jaylen McCullough. Jaylen McCullough goes into Josh Heupel's office. Jaylen McCullough sits down. Josh Heupel says, tell me what happened. You may not even have to say these words, because I think they do respect Josh Heupel, but you may say, or it is at least implied, do not lie to me about this. Because if you lie about what happened, even if you were in the wrong, you're in a lot more trouble. So if he comes clean and he says, I punched him in the mouth, Josh, or Coach Heupel is how he would refer to him. I punched him in the mouth. He barged in. This is why I punched him in the mouth. He got a little yippy. He got in my face. All of that. Now, the police didn't think that was the case. But if you tell Josh Heupel that, and he has communication, which you're technically not supposed to do with the police, because that could be interfering with the investigation, but it does happen. And he gets some sort of communication by the police that everything was kosher in the way that Jaylen McCullough handled it from that point forward, then yes, he could play on Saturday. Absolutely. Just don't lie is what I would tell Jaylen McCullough if he's watching the show or listening right now. Do not lie. Come clean, even if it means you have to sit for Alabama and get suspended for a week or two. Don't lie. Don't lie.
Right. Well, my thing about this is, and I've dug a little bit deeper into it, because I mean, I woke up and just saw it on Twitter, and I was like, well, okay.
So on offensesports.com.
Well, yes, I did, but that was from your tweet. So I didn't realize that he was actually, I thought it sounded like the guy left the apartment and went walking down like into the street, and Jaylen McCullough apparently just took off after him. That's not what happened. No. He got hit at the door. He hit him at the door. And the reason the guy has like teeth missing and stuff, he fell down the stairs.
Well, now according to the reports, let's be really clear here with the News Sentinel. He went in the room, realized he was in the wrong room, turned around, and then Jaylen McCullough allegedly followed him. And at that point is when the altercation happened.
Yeah, he said he was approximately 30 feet from the door.
Okay. So you're
30 feet.
You're saying, if you're that dude, my bad, and walking away. Now, did he say, my bad, don't be a jackwagon, what's wrong with you, jerky boy? Did he, I'm using nice language. Did that happen and cause him to get punched in the mouth? I got no problem with that if it gets in your face.
That's what he said. It says the warrant narrative states that the two exchanged words. So if the two exchanged words, this is my thing. You come into a guy's house and you go in, and this is what the guy is saying. This is what the victim is saying, that he went in, he backed out and apologized. You don't know if he did that. You don't know if he did that. It's not like Jaylen McCullough pulled a gun on him or something. I mean, they started exchanging words and he punched him. It's a punch. How many people have thrown a punch?
I guess everybody, right?
I mean, we've all thrown a punch. If we were all arrested on felony assault charges for throwing a punch, the majority of us would serve time. I mean,
yeah. I mean, it's assault.
It's assault, but in today's this is what's wrong with today's society. Here I'm gonna go. It's an assault.
So scary.
Yes, it's an assault charge. But when back in the day when you were younger, I mean, people got in fights and no one went to prison over it. You got into a fight. That's just what happens. You don't have to call the cops every time you get into a fight.
Yeah, but I mean, we had my son's girlfriend over on Friday, and he picked Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, which was cool. And I told him how dozens, a dozen, maybe 18, maybe 2 dozen students would show up to campus in their pickup truck, and there was a gun rack with guns on the back. That seems today absolutely insano. But
you get arrested.
Oh, but back then it wasn't anything.
I know.
So I don't know exactly what happened. If there was a lot of yipping and the guy got in his face, then you have every right to punch somebody. You have every right to defend yourself. The threat of if I go up to Amanda and I say, Amanda, I'm gonna knock the bleep out of you. I'm gonna beat you up. She has every right to hit me. Okay, so a verbal attack. Trust me, I've covered way too many of these things, but a verbal threat gives you the right to defend yourself. Crazy Nug said the charges will be dropped. I wouldn't be surprised. I also wouldn't be surprised if he's suspended for the Alabama game. It's just something that Tennessee didn't need. And I think it will be a bump in the road, something they'll overcome. And I think it's unfortunate because it overshadows Tennessee's win 40-13 over LSU. So let's get to that a little bit. The Down and Dirty brought to you by Honeybee Coffee. Also want to remind you that Craft Treats is your home for the chill pills. Go to crafttreats.com. Jaylen McCullough could use some chill pills, even though they're for pets. Available at crafttreats.com. Don't forget you save 20% off at checkout with the exclusive code Off the Hook. That's Off the Hook. That's crafttreats.com. You will absolutely love it. So again, go to crafttreats.com. Use that promo code, get 20% off with the exclusive code Off the Hook. And the chill pills help with digestive issues for your pet. They also help with anxiety. They help with arthritis as well. So there was one heck of a football game. And as far as answering the bell, when has Tennessee ever answered the bell better than that? I would say not in many years. There was some volatility atop the college football polls that affected the Tennessee-Alabama game, but it is still, as we reported last week, if both teams held serve, would be the highest ranked matchup between Tennessee, Alabama in the game's history. That's insane. 1902, I believe. The Vols are ranked number 6 in the AP poll, which is 2 spots higher than UT was ranked last week before the 40-13 win over LSU. Alabama drops to 3 in the AP poll, which is what we defer to. But whether you go coaches or AP, they both add together where the average ranking is 4.5. So the highest that this matchup has ever been in the history of the series is 5. So that is just, I had my son check that. I had my wife check that. I had Caleb Calhoun check that. It blows me away, the significance of it. A couple of notes that you can check out on offthehooksports.com. If you tuned out over the weekend after the game, Byron Young saying it was the best game that he believes that Tennessee's played under Josh Heupel. Tennessee's game plan was pretty simple. They wanted to run out there and find out what LSU would play, and receiver Jalen Hyatt, love this guy. We wanted to see, he said, quote, we wanted to see if they were going to drop 8 or they're going to come out there and man and say their guys are better than our guys. And he said in the receiver room, we take that as disrespectful in this offense, and that's what they did. And they didn't throw for 500 yards like they've done before, but they were very balanced and efficient and still explosive in the passing game. So 239 efficient yards passing. Jalen Hyatt, 4 passes for 63 yards. And Tennessee got an absolute ton of praise for its offense. The Vols, though, I think an interesting stat. Tennessee is 11th in the SEC in total defense. That's not good. 396 yards allowed per game. They're 5th in the SEC with 18 points allowed per game. So what does that tell you? That tells you that bend don't break thing that we used to all hate is just a part of college football now. You're going to give up yards. So in the red zone, the Vols are 2nd best, in the SEC and 7th best in the nation. That's really good. If that doesn't change, Tennessee is going to definitely win 9 games and might win 10. Hendon Hooker's Heisman campaign, it's getting close to time for Amanda and I to book a trip to New York City. His odds, though, dropped 40 a bit from 1,400, which is 14 to 1, to 1,600. The reason is CJ Stroud's running away with this thing, has a 60% chance of winning the Heisman, but Hooker pulled even with Alabama quarterback Bryce Young after Young did not play against A&M. Southern California quarterback Caleb Williams' odds dropped because of Stroud's went up. So I don't know that Hendon Hooker helped his chances, or the college football weekend, Amanda, helped his chances to win the Heisman. But I think it certainly helped his chances to be invited into New York, which is something in and of itself.
It helped his chances to win the Heisman, and I do not agree with some of these odds makers and all of that stuff, because in my Heisman board or whatever, I'm sorry, but Bryce Young's out. He's out. He's missed a game and a half, and that's enough. He's out. I don't know why he would be equal to Hendon Hooker. He hasn't done what Hendon Hooker has done, and he's on a team with more talent than Hendon Hooker is. He's out. He's missed a game and a half. He may miss the Tennessee game, which would be devastating to everyone who's an Alabama fan, because, my God, we'll get to that later. But looking at who Ohio State has coming up, you have Iowa, and I know Iowa's not that good, but their defense is still good. Their defense is still really good. Their offense can't do anything, but their defense can. Then they have a top 10 matchup with Penn State. Then they have, Maryland, who's not a pushover. And then they have, number 5 in Michigan. So CJ Stroud has a pretty tough schedule coming up. He hasn't played much of anyone as far as defense is concerned. Who have you played? Wisconsin? Wisconsin's terrible. Toledo, Rutgers, Michigan State. All of those teams are horrific this year. Horrific.
And he has the best group of receivers in the nation. And I think Tennessee's barely on that second tier. I think they're very close to that. But according to Chris Landry, who I've got a lot of respect for, they probably have 4 first-round picks on their receiving core. Tennessee probably has 2.
Go ahead.
No, you're good.
That should go against CJ Stroud, because this is always my opinion on the Heisman. The Heisman should be the best player on their team, one that their team would not be able to survive or be completely different if he was not there. That should be your Heisman winner. The one that makes the biggest difference on a team, takes them from a 5-win season to a 10-win season, or takes them from, something that they would be pretty much not good unless he was on that team. CJ Stroud, you can replace CJ Stroud with probably the two people sitting behind him, and it would be the same concept, considering their schedule is kind of weak, except for coming up soon. He didn't play well against Notre Dame at all, and I don't know why no one looked at that, because he did not play well against Notre Dame. So I don't see why he is so far gone with it. He's not so far gone with it, and this is something that people actually vote on, so it's not like you can take the statistics and, oh, he's automatically the winner. You have to look at what Hendon Hooker is doing at Tennessee. What he's doing is far better than what anybody else is doing in the country.
We had a question on the message board. There's some confusion about the rankings. We always defer to the AP, but we do cite the coaches poll. So the coaches didn't change. Same as last week. Alabama 1, Tennessee 8, still comes out to a 4.5 overall ranking. And then in the AP, which good for them, they got up and did their homework. They're not the sports information director who has other things to do and just says, Coach, is this okay? And sends it in and doesn't make significant changes. There should be significant changes from week to week. Alabama is not without Bryce Young, is not the number 1 overall team in the nation. Now, Bryce Young could come back and we're having a different conversation 2 weeks from now, but right now they're not. So in the AP, they're 3 and 6. So kudos to the AP voters for taking a look at a couple teams. Tennessee jumps USC and Oklahoma State. It doesn't hurt to be in that prime window on CBS, but good for the voters. And that's why I lean towards AP, because the vast majority of those guys get up and I've had the opportunity to vote for the AP. I'm like, no way. Because at the time I was covering recruiting, and if you do it right, it should take you 2 or 3 hours to go through every Sunday. And man, I don't know about you, but I've got enough going on a Sunday. Yeah, I belabor my Heisman vote way too much. So I'm not going to belabor an AP vote every single week. So there you go. That's kind of all it in a nutshell. Jaylen McCullough, I'm sure, will be addressed at the noon press conference right at 12:15, and we'll see if he's suspended. So I will open it up to you. What do you think for today's tough question? Your thoughts on what direction? Obviously, we were going to go the LSU direction, which I would still prefer. But if you want to do something with Jaylen McCullough, we can certainly do that. And Crazy says, how about that Milroe? Boy.
We'll get into that.
We will
get into that.
Wow. When's the last time you've seen this? Just feeds the fodder that I've said and Amanda said. Amanda brought it up first, that this is Nick Saban's last year. This, in my mind, feeds the fodder. He doesn't have a guy ready to go. When's the last time that Alabama hasn't had a backup quarterback ready to go? You would know better than I.
So Jalen Milroe this is a whole thing, and I am prepared for this because I was at the game. I was at Texas A&M, Alabama on Saturday. I was at that game. I have never seen such a poor display of game management from an Alabama quarterback. And I know before, the Tua, Jalen Hurts, that era at Alabama, Alabama was known for game managers. that's the kind of offense they ran. And of course, in college, we have gotten away from that type of offense, and rightly so, because it's, kind of boring, ground and pound. But I have never seen a quarterback so unprepared for a game.
It was bizarre. And if you listened to us last week, we had Chris Landry say that some of the clips that he got from practice to review some of them, that the quarterback was completely cut out. Yeah. So that's when we pretty much knew that Bryce Young wasn't going to play. Be sure and like and subscribe and share. I should have said that a long time ago. Like, subscribe, and share. We greatly appreciate that. The channel is growing by leaps and bounds. Mr. Zip saying, I'll say Alabama's secondary is trash. I don't know how no one has had any explosive plays, 15 or more yards against them. Boy, it seems like that we that Tennessee fans have this conversation repeatedly that they're getting ready to play one of their rivals who's good and things don't work out. But I really feel like Tennessee is beyond that. I really feel like the mindset of this team, and Tennessee might lose to Alabama. That very well could happen. But I don't think Tennessee no-shows it as they did in 2016 when it was a 9-1. That team was overly hyped and was not going to beat Alabama, was not going to show up. But I just think we're past the point that Tennessee doesn't show up. And good for you, Tennessee fans. You deserve that. I mean, you've been through a lot. Great place to watch the games over the weekends. Big Orange Phillies in North Knoxville. Big Orange Phillies has fantastic food, billiards, darts, and more. We get right back to you, and we will discuss the entire SEC slate. So if you have any questions about any other team or Alabama, throw them out there now, and we'll visit with the coach, Chris Landry of LandryFootball.com. Back in 2 minutes.
Gary Viles here. I want to personally invite you to North Knoxville's newest sports bar and restaurant. It's Big Orange Phillies, located in Black Oak Center. And yes, folks, it's happening in Halls. Big Orange Phillies offers family-friendly environment with homemade meals and the best deli-style subs around. Billiards, darts, jukebox, shuffleboard, and cornhole, and a full bar. We also offer valet parking on weekends and during special events. We even have a covered back patio. It's happening at Big Orange Phillies. We want, we need, and we appreciate your business.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare.
This is Al's Dish Barbecue Supply, so come on in and see all the different rubs and sauces we have, plus a complete line of Green Mountain grills. Don't be overwhelmed. We have plenty of help so you can produce the best barbecue and amaze your family and friends. Barbecue is America's food. We'll do what we can to bring you all the best products. We're Al's Nest Barbecue, where Chattanooga goes to grill.
Do you want to own the more that owns every job? Then get to Vassy Lawn and Garden in Cleveland and get you a Toro. I'm David Vassy, here to talk to you about Toro. With a Toro Zero Turn, you'll get more out of every minute and you'll reach the finish line faster. At Vassy's, we like to say, no matter if you're mowing 3 acres a week or 11 lawns a day, homeowners and business owners alike find confidence in equipment they can trust from top to bottom.
Vassy Lawn and Garden, Highway 60 North in Cleveland.
Man alive, it's worth the drive.
That was my energy drink. But if I was drinking a beer at this time of the morning, which I'm not, we're with you every day, each and every morning at 8:30. It would be from Zool Beer Company. ZoolBeer.com. Worldwide award-winning craft beer. Great place to hang out downtown with parking. Unbelievable. Zool Beer is phenomenal. That's XULbeer.com. And great merch as well. So Chris Landry joins us now of LandryFootball.com. And Chris, how are you this morning? Had some football, didn't we?
Oh man, yeah, it's getting that time of the year. Can't believe we're going into week 7 in college football. But what a great weekend, and what a great weekend! What a great week coming up ahead in Knoxville with all the college football attention being focused that way. It's going to be a lot of fun for I know many of our listeners here.
What I would like to do, if you don't mind, is from your coach's perspective, being in these meetings, I would like to take the Jaylen McCullough arrest and just kind of address it and then move on and talk football. So go ahead. This is my understanding from the outside looking in. And you've been there with Nick Saban, you've been there with other coaches when things like this come up. And I remember, was it Jimmy John that they kicked off, that Nick Saban kicked off in his first year? Was that his name, the linebacker? And
yeah, it is right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, it made a statement. I'm not comparing the two. I just kind of went in the left field. But here's the way I understand this working. A coach calls you in, especially in a situation like this where there's a bit of a gray area. The alleged victim could have done some chirping. I don't know. But coach calls you in, and by golly, you better tell the truth about what happened right there, right then, even if you're guilty, because if you don't, then it's a whole nother level of trouble from the football team's perspective. Maybe not the legal perspective, but the football team's perspective. How do those conversations take place? How do they sound?
Well, it is difficult because in a general sense, there's a certain way you handle it, but every situation has a different degree of specificity that you must know the details, circumstances, context, everything. But yeah, if a player comes in and lies, and again, what's his background? Has he had trouble before? Did he really lie, or does his version? I mean, you got to make sure that it's, but let's just go on the assumption that he's lying. Well, then then there's a real problem. And look, I don't think it's as hard as people, at least for me, it's not. There's a certain standard that you have to play at, at this level and to be part of a team. And if you don't do things the right way, and if you don't come clean, you're not honest. I say this all the time to guys getting ready to go to the combine, because I ran the combine now. Said, don't lie, because nobody's asking you a question they don't already know the answer to. Okay, so you lie, and it's like, I can't trust this guy. So look, here's what I would do, and it's just what I always try to do. I would bring him in initially, and here's how I handle it. And let him have this. Okay, well, I want to. We'll revisit this number, and then I would find out every bit of information, proof, and then I would visit with him again in more detail, and then I would know whether he is lying or not, or whether there's some ambiguity in the whole story. So, look, I mean, in the end, people want to make judgments, and based on the media findings of I do this. Well, you don't know what the heck's going on with the true story is. So. Yeah, but it's not a good situation for a player, lies or does something that will violate team rules, because if it doesn't apply to him, then it doesn't apply to anybody. And I don't think you have integrity in the locker room. I don't think you have respect by the players to your coaches if you don't handle things the right way. But what's the right way? The right way is getting to the bottom of the information, having a background with the player, knowing this, knowing everything that's going on up into this situation, then trying to integrate this whole situation and figuring out what the whole truth is.
So I'm not sure if he'll be suspended, and I'm not going to, because there's a lot of gray area. And when the guy came in, he followed him out, went in the wrong apartment, blah, 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 blah. I don't know what happened. I wasn't there. So I don't know if he'll be suspended for the Alabama game or not. But if he is, who fills in for him? Is it Andre Turrentine? Is it as simple as that? And is he the guy steps in? Danico Slaughter's played a lot of safety. Or is that the direction they go? I mean, they're not very good in the defensive backfield to start with.
Well, first of all, the way you handle that this week is you have multiple options that you're going to work hard in practice. And the answer to your questions are going to come out of how they're operating in practice. I mean, what those guys have done to this point. Now you're in game plan mode to the upcoming opponent. Who can handle assignment-wise the best during the week is going to get most of the reps. But they're going to need both of those guys and perhaps some others to help fill that. I don't think it's a simple thing. If that's, and I think you need to prepare as if he's not going to play, because you don't know what's going to happen and you can't get caught with your pants down. You got to make sure that you're prepared for that. If you can play, if something comes out within, then so be it. But you've got to be prepared for the worst, hope for the best.
Yes. So we have obviously coming up this Alabama-Tennessee matchup in which as I
This week?
pointed out before,
That is this week. Yeah.
ha ha ha, I have a wedding to go to and I won't be here.
A
I didn't have
wedding?
tickets.
There's rules in the South. There are no weddings in the South.
They're Wisconsin people. They don't share the same
Wisconsin people. Oh my
belief.
goodness. Oh my goodness. Okay.
But anywho, moving on with my bitterness and, maybe slight anger. Anyway, so Tennessee against LSU looked really good. They looked really good. And Jalen Milroe with Alabama is just not good. I mean, he had 2 fumbles and an interception. Alabama had 4 turnovers against that Texas A&M subpar defense. And it looked bad. I mean, it was just, and the atmosphere there was crazy. Everyone was excited about the game. It wasn't like everybody was just, meh. That's a game that should not have been even remotely close. Shouldn't have been close. Jalen Milroe is clearly not the answer for Alabama backup quarterback wise. And I can't say that it's just nerves or it's just, whatever. Turning the ball over 3 times single-handedly is not acceptable in any program. What are you expecting out of this Tennessee defense if Milroe is the one to go?
Well, first of all, I'd like to talk a little bit about kind of what Tennessee did last week. I think we can look ahead this week, but in the early part of the week, I thought it was the biggest thing that stood out to me was the great job that Tennessee obviously did in the bye week in preparation. I thought the defense had a really good scheme. Now, LSU was without their left tackle and their left guard because Dellinger went out with an injury, and they attacked them very effectively, and they had a very good stunt package so that, for folks that may not be familiar with, so you're in and your tackle replace positions and you get good angles, and they just terrorized LSU. And it was big. LSU, the formula for them, you can't make mistakes and turn it over. You can't give a team like Tennessee 10 points to start, and then it's just behind the 8 ball. So that, to me, was the fact that Tennessee played a clean game. I mean, they protected the football. I know Hooker had the 1 fumble, but they didn't lose it. But they play a clean game. LSU makes tons of mistakes on special teams. I thought Tennessee did a really good job with, the recovery of the opening kickoff was not anything scheme design. It was a mistake by LSU. But great job getting the ball there. Great job on the punt return when LSU outkicked their coverage there. So good job cleaning up special teams issues and good job with the defense. Now, this is not a good LSU defense. Not a good LSU offense. Still, they caused a lot of problems. And because they were able to get a lead, it took LSU out the run game. So, and LSU's not going to be effective passing it. How I think it translates going to be real interesting. I think Tennessee's playing with a lot of confidence. I think they played on offense, made enough big plays, protected the football. You have to do that against Alabama. And look, I'll say this, that to me, it's not about, whether they can beat them or not. Here's what it really comes down to. If Tennessee plays a clean game, meaning don't turn the football over, which they don't normally do, and they don't make sloppy mistakes on special teams to give short fields, and Alabama continues to turn the football over, then Tennessee's going to win this game. Look, Tennessee could have lost to A&M because of mistakes. And I disagree. I think A&M's defense is very talented. They're very talented. You can't give an A&M offense 3 possessions, 3 turnovers, and give them short fields. I think so what does that mean for Alabama coming forward? Here's the downside to it if you're Tennessee. Just in a general, a lot of people think, oh, look what happened last week. Big win for Tennessee on the road. Alabama, awful. You're not going to see the same Alabama team. That's what you're going to see is a team that, based on history, will likely clean things up and not make – without the mistakes, Amanda and Dave, Alabama wins that game against A&M by 17, 24 points. They they just made too many mistakes. And protecting the football, that's the great equalizer. You have that, you can flip the game around. And that could happen this week again. If it does, and whoever is -3 in turnover margin is going to lose the game. I think as relates to this week, I would expect Bryce Young to play. I don't know that, but if he plays, is he sharp enough, can throw it well enough? Or if he doesn't play, do they have enough in the passing game? Now, again, running the football against Tennessee, you can run the football on Tennessee. LSU couldn't because they were down. So the key for Alabama is defensively. Can they do a good job pattern matching and keeping this game close to where they can stay committed to the run? That's the key. And can they protect the football? I still think they can be successful. Look, the bottom line is they're not choosing Jalen Milroe. They went to him. I think the bigger question is, and I know Ty Simpson's not ready, but why don't they have a better passer as a backup quarterback than Jalen Milroe? Because that is definitely going to make Alabama's challenges much more difficult. Look, I think they can win a lot of games with Jalen Milroe during the regular season. This may not be one of them, and I don't know. We'll see. But I think it's a completely different game plan. They're very limited in the passing game, but I think the key is going to be defensively. Can they hold on enough? If they turn the football over and Tennessee gets a lead, I'm not going to say that Tennessee's going to do to Alabama what they did to LSU, but I think that it's going to be a huge advantage and very difficult for Alabama to come back. But I don't know the answer, obviously, to who's going to play at quarterback. It's no question that if you're Jalen Milroe, the thing you've got to do is, yes, you got to use your legs, but you got to protect the football. And A&M did a nice job stripping the ball, but you got to be high and tight. You got to have two hands on the ball in the pocket, and you can't turn the football over because that nearly cost them the game, and which would have been an embarrassing loss.
Wow, interesting. So, did it surprise you that Nick Saban didn't have? And I want to get back to Tennessee. You're right, because we're probably getting a little ahead of ourselves. But did it surprise you that Nick Saban didn't have a quarterback? I don't care what the guy's name is, Jalen Milroe or Dave Hooker, that he didn't have a guy more ready to play, because he always has a backup ready to go.
Well, Jalen Milroe's always been an intriguing guy to me, but not as a passer. And I don't look. They've had Blake Sims and they've had Jalen Hurts, who's a lot better now as a passer, and a lot of it had to do with when he went to Oklahoma and he really developed as a passer. And he was functional at Alabama. But in the modern era, here's the thing that with Alabama that's changed. Back when Blake Sims was the quarterback, they were still running the football first, and even Jalen Hurts. Now they're a passing team. And I think if you look at them, I thought they schemed the run game very well the last 2 weeks. The fourth quarter, when they had to adjust to the injuries. Bryce Young got injured early, but they started to make adjustments in game. And I thought they had a good run game concept. And they had some big runs in the game against A&M, but they just don't have anything in the passing game that's to note. Now, they can work some of the screen games, some of the boots, some of the half reads. I think they can do those things better and be functional and can be successful enough against Tennessee to have some success. But there's no question that they're a different team without Bryce Young. With Bryce Young, they're different. They're different. They're more explosive. But listen, there's no secret to why they're a better running team now. They're focusing on the run. They're running it more. They're coming off the ball. Whereas when they're more of a passing team, it's more pass blocking, pass set. You don't come off the ball and you're not as physical. So that's just the reality of what they are. Yeah, I'm surprised that, to me, I always like to have my backup quarterback to be a guy that can come in and do, and particularly in college. In the NFL, there's going to be a big drop off because you can't afford to pay two great quarterbacks a lot of money. But in college, am I surprised that they don't have a Ty Simpson, who I think can be really good, but is not ready? Somebody that's maybe in the upper class. Well, they've not hit on all their quarterbacks. And I think it's tougher in today's world to have backups that are as good because of the transfer portal. Because if they're not starting, they're departing. They're leaving. So it's just, it's one of those things that we have to look at. and say going forward it's going to be difficult. But yeah, Jalen Milroe is a change of pace, a different type of guy, but they have to play well around him. The one thing I'm noticing outside of the turnovers, though, the defense has stepped up in a lot of respects. The running game has picked up, so there's positives in it. I just think that this is going to – I mean, I think Alabama can win this game with Jalen Milroe, but not turning the football over like they did last week. I think Tennessee, look, they have – it's just kind of almost shaping up as like a magical year because they're playing well and they get Florida and LSU in the right spots. So those are big-time wins, even though when you look at the tape, you know that Florida and LSU are not all that good. Still, it's 5-0. You're ranked. You're hosting Alabama. And maybe you're getting Alabama even without Bryce Young or without a healthy Bryce Young, and you get them at home. I mean, you can't write a better script if you're Tennessee. It doesn't guarantee a win, but it's the best position possible. And I just think it's just my experience of coaching with Nick Saban and saying I just wouldn't get overly confident about seeing the same Alabama team. I know they struggled against Texas. I know they struggled against Texas A&M. But I saw that last year too, a lot, and they got better. Are they going to get appreciably better this week to beat the Tennessee? I don't know. And when do you can watch it? I mean, I'm telling you what he's doing behind the scenes. Alabama's like an 8-point favorite. Every player in that building is going to say, nobody respects you. It's all about Tennessee. You got no – he's going to make it like Alabama's a 10-point underdog. And when does he ever get the chance of that? If you listen to him all last week, been around the guy and noticed. I told you guys last year, all this talk about, A&M, go over there. We're 20-point favorites last year. And I just keep pointing. Nobody listens to me. And then, I think that Tennessee's going to get Alabama. I mean, Alabama's going to get the Alabama's going to be very attentive in this game. They're going to have the Tennessee's going to have their attention, maybe in a way that A&M didn't, and it's probably had a lot to do with their preparation last week in a lot of regards. So I think this is shaping up to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, Tennessee already, if nothing else breaks their way other than Bryce Young not playing on Saturday, has had more good fortune in this season than any other season dating, and I'm going to write a column about this, dating back to 1998. Now, I'm not saying they're going to win a national championship, but Chris, if you remember, you had the Syracuse pass interference that was pass interference, but it would have been really easy to keep that in your pocket. They had the turnovers that Florida committed when they were able to beat Florida in Neyland. They had a third-string guy named Marcus Alton, who was nicknamed the Rooster in the national championship game. They had the Clint Sterner fumble. Everything seems to be breaking Tennessee's way, but they deserve a lot.
And you're right. They're not a championship maybe team, but every good season has that. I mean, you go back and look at every team. I go back to some of the great Miami teams. I know people don't remember this, but one of the teams with Ray Lewis and Ed Reed and all those guys, and I can remember them in the Big East playing BC. And BC's going in, and there's the fumble and the pitchback fumble that looked like the A&M, Arkansas game. Or else they don't get out of Chestnut Hill with a win in that game, and people kind of forget that because they go on and they steamroll everybody. We forget about nobody's forgotten what A&M did to Alabama last year, but what Florida did and what Auburn did and how Alabama had a hard time putting LSU away when they had like 39 scholarship players and everybody quit on Ed Orgeron. I mean, it's like. A lot of it is motivation, focus, maturity level, and that's the thing that Saban puts on the most. But I didn't mean to interrupt you, but you have to have that, but you got to step in there. Like, look, LSU came out and imploded. Well, guess what? I got news for everybody. This is the secret in 40 years of football. Winning games is more about what you don't do than what you do. everybody says, well, if it wouldn't be for the 3 fumbles and the 2 sports market, that is what costs you games. Okay, it's not about your height. We live in a highlight world. That's all people tend to focus on. It is not the highlight plays that win you games. It's the dumb plays that lose you game. You'll lose more games than you win. And so it's why if you got a bad team, and I learned this from Parcells. Parcells is probably the best I've ever seen because he's done it a few times. He goes into a bad situation and then become good right away. Not, like better. Why? Cleans up everything. They don't turn the football over. They don't make mistakes. They're good in the kicking game, meaning punt coverage, kick coverage, returns. And then they just don't play stupid football. So they inherits a team that can maybe win 2 games and they win 6. If you do that, then you build talent, then you develop a consistency. The problem in college, it's really difficult because these young guys, particularly today, they feel themselves, they're this, they're that. So when my day used to insulate them. Now with social media, you're all great, you're all this, you still won. When you come close to losing or you lose, that's when players that's when they're in the front seat and they're looking for answers. When you're winning and you're playing sloppy, they think they can get away with it. It's just human nature. And so I think playing clean football is the key. And again, we'll find out this week. I would anticipate if you're Tennessee playing an Alabama team that's going to clean things up, because I know the head coach is going to be lighting some what's up this week.
Well, Chris, along those lines, you actually transitioned exactly where I was going. And that was, excuse me.
He's getting choked up over this game.
To the doctor, apparently.
I scheduled Jacob Warren and Cooper Mays to do a podcast with me on Sunday for a very specific reason. There's a huge, monstrous news hole there. But it's probably not the best for them because they should either be enjoying a win or they should be, suffering from a loss, the 24-hour rule, and get beyond it. But the thing that both of them said yesterday, and please like, subscribe, and share, it's on the YouTube page. The thing that Jacob said specifically, he said, you look at it, and given all that LSU gave us, we could have scored a lot more points.
Oh, yeah.
To me, that mindset is not something that you draw up on a dry erase board. That's something this Tennessee football team has and is, in my opinion, more valuable than any one of their players.
Look, it was 23-7. LSU's defense did one heck of a job in the first half, keeping it to that because their offense and their special teams gifted Tennessee some easy scores. That game could have easily been 30, 34, 7 at the half. Now it doesn't matter, and but the point is you can't rely on people gifting that to you. But when they do, you pounce on them. I think they did a good job. I think we could quibble on the margin of victory is not the issue. It's just jumping on a team. They've done that. Look, I mean, that's consistently, and I guess to my point, is the most impressive thing about Hendon. Hooker 1 and the Vol team 2. And I think they take his lead. Hendon Hooker, and I know he had the fumble that he didn't lose. He protects the football. And the guy, I mean, the negative plays are reduced. Look, Florida made mistakes. Pitt made mistakes. Tennessee was a cleaner football team in both of those games, as well as LSU, and that's why they are better. Yeah, they've got more explosive qualities, but I don't think their offense was in rhythm as they're capable of in any of those 3 games, particularly the first 2, more of this last one, because this was a better LSU defense. But they're doing this even though I don't think they played their best on offense. But they're playing clean. And you don't need to be, and that's important, you don't need to be that higher-powered, we got to score 50 points a game every time. If you can weather the storm, force other people into mistakes. You don't make mistakes. That's the key. It's imperative, I think, to be really good to win multiple ways. Because if you can only win one way, what happens if that one way just abandons you that day? What happens if somebody just does a better job against that aspect of your team than others have? Can you win another way? And I think Tennessee's winning other ways. I mean, they're not outscoring people just like, giving up a ton of points. And I keep telling you that this defense, and again, you have to look at the tape to see this. The outside, the coverage outside for Tennessee wasn't very good. LSU couldn't exploit it. Maybe Alabama can't exploit it. Pitt couldn't exploit it. Florida couldn't exploit it. But there are things that are good. The pass rush is good, and that is the focus we've talked about all the time, and I know you've mentioned. What about coverage? What about the secondary? There's limited they can do there. But what you can do is ratchet up the pressure. If they don't have to cover as long and you can get the quarterback off its mark, you got a real chance for success. Now, again, Richardson as a passer, Jaden Daniels as a passer, obviously with Pitt in their backup, that's not Tennessee's problem. You create pressure, and I don't think some of those people can beat you in the passing game. So the question would be, if it is Jalen Milroe, if they can bring good pressure, can they do the same thing? Can they have the same amount of success defensively? We'll see. I think you're going to see a much better offensive line for Alabama, and the protection scheme's better. So we'll see. And then the other thing, as I said, I'll say it again, it's going to be the key to this game is Tennessee's going to have to stop the run. And we said that against LSU, and I said there are two ways you do it. They have to stop the run with numbers, or if they get a lead, then LSU's not going to stay committed to the run because they can't. They're behind. Well, it was the latter here. So I am curious to see if this game is close and competitive. Can Tennessee stop the run for 4 quarters? Look, that's what's great about it. That's what's great as a challenge for a football team. Let's see if we can do it. And, but I think the defense has been good situationally. I think the defense has had vulnerabilities that other people haven't exploited. And then we'll see this week if this Alabama offense, with some of the issues that we've discussed, can exploit that or not. I mean, I think that's going to be the fun part of this matchup. It's going to be a lot of fun. I tell you, there are a lot more people that are going to pick Tennessee. Not that matters, but in most cases, particularly since everyone thought that including me, that Alabama would blow out A&M, there's going to be that reverse effect of, well, Tennessee's better, and so look out, Tennessee's going to whip them. And one thing I will tell you, what happened last week and 2 weeks ago, it's 12 one-week seasons. Which you think from last week just doesn't quite figure it out. I mean, the first half of Vanderbilt against Ole Miss, what was that? I mean, there are a lot of things that just jump out and say, wow, didn't see that coming. And that game against LSU didn't surprise me because, it surprised me that LSU was so sloppy. But because they were sloppy, it didn't surprise me that Tennessee won. I thought Tennessee would win it, but win it decisively has a lot to do with, like any game, how well Tennessee played and relative to LSU. And then can you bring enough pressure to force those turnovers too? That's a big part of it. We chart turnovers in football and coaching, unforced errors and forced errors, kind of using the tennis term. Do you, like for example, A&M punched the ball out against Alabama, but you got to have 2 hands on the ball in traffic, and that doesn't come out. So, yeah, it's a good job by A&M, but it's a result of you not doing your job. But then, like the one hit where, it gets knocked out with the helmet, that was more of a better defensive play, a forced error. So I think you got to force turnovers, and you don't give them up, man, you got a good chance to win any game. And that's what Tennessee's doing right now for the most part.
Amanda wants to jump on board, much like you would jump on board a Pettigo bicycle.
Absolutely. Great.
Pettigo Chattanooga, locally owned, where you'll be treated like family. The region's foremost electric bike experts. They put their hearts into helping you find the perfect electric bike and get the most out of it for years to come. If you order just an e-commerce bike online, you're not going to be happy because they're not as good. And if you need it serviced, good luck with that. Do you know anybody that works on e-bikes? Pedigo does. Pedigo Chattanooga. Amanda, sorry.
Oh, you're fine. This Alabama team, if you want the ball, just ask Jalen Milroe for it, because apparently he'll just hand it right to you.
Not that you're bitter or anything. But
Not that I'm bitter. Not that I'm bitter. Not that I made, a 10-hour trip. That's fine. But moving forward, let's set aside Jahmyr Gibbs, because for Alabama, he is one of the best running backs in the nation, and not even just in the nation. He's one of, I believe, Alabama's best running backs in history, and that's saying a lot. I mean, the way he runs, he's very powerful. So that's something I know Tennessee will have to focus on, especially if Milroe's there. Like I said, though, if you want the ball, just ask him for it, because he'll just hand it to you. Continuing on, Alabama's defense. I know we saw somebody on the chat board say that, their secondary's trash. They're ranked number 1 in the SEC and didn't allow a passing touchdown on the first 4 games of the season. What's your take on what they will be able to do against Tennessee? Because we know it's a different kind of offense.
Yeah, it's not as good as it has been in some years, but I've noticed it's gotten a little bit better, and they're certainly far from trash. They're talented and they're good, and they did a great job making a leverage adjustment on that last play, by the way. And I think we're going to see this week. I mean, I think this is going to be the real test, because when you practice to go against Tennessee and what they're going to do at Alabama is everything is about making the calls yourself. So you've got to train guys to make it on the fly. So you get your cleats in the ground and get ready for them to go fast, because that's what obviously Tennessee runs it. So I think we're going to see this week. We're going to see how well they do a good job, how well they do. And I think they're going to play split safeties, which is going to allow safety help to the boundary, which is difficult because Tennessee lines up so wide. So I think that they're going to make some adjustments, get a linebacker dropped in the deep middle. Tennessee, look, the one thing that Hendon doesn't do very well, boy, he leaves a lot of plays over the middle. I've talked a lot about, working the middle of the field. I see why they don't do it. Is Hendon's just not real accurate over the middle. I mean, he misses guys, leaves too many plays, but the young man's having a really good season. I think the middle of the field is something that if you're Alabama, you're going to have to, maybe vacate a little bit, get a linebacker dropped in the deep middle and really get help on the outside. Because the big plays come from Tennessee, the 9 route. Hendon Hooker throws the deep ball. The 9 route is good as anybody I've seen in college football in a long time.
Wow.
I mean, he's got great arc on the ball. It's perfect. Now, if he threw every route as good, he would be, more consistent. What a great deep ball. I mean, it's natural. It's like for him, like a basketball player that has a certain shot on the court that just fits his eye, and it's just there for him. He just, and again, they get coverage, and they get the right type of coverage set up. He just drops the ball in so well. But I think it's going to be a big challenge for Alabama, because you got to work with the tempo in addition to staying on their coverage landmarks. Look, Alabama runs a lot of pattern match, which means it's basically zone, but they play man within the zone. So once you come into the zone, they use man principles. So and I think that's how you have to play Tennessee personally. You can get into a little bit of trouble over the middle, but if Tennessee doesn't attack that middle of the field more effectively, then that's going to help Alabama's ability to try to stay on top of routes on the back end. The health, I mean, we'll see if Cedric can get back, but Brew McCoy is the big-time playmaker, as good as we thought he would be, as we talked all summer leading into it. This is going to be quite the challenge for Alabama's defense. There's no question. Now, the pass rush is going to be a challenge, too, for Tennessee. Both of these teams can rush the passer. At least, I thought Tennessee's been able to do it pretty effectively. Alabama does it consistently, and I think that's going to be a real problem. And And I think we may see Hendon run the football, which is another thing he does very well. He can escape and pick up some positive yards, particularly in the red zone.
Chris, are you ready for my annual Alabama joke that I've been telling since about 1999? Amanda rolls her eyes. Are you ready?
Ready or not, I guess I'm going to hear it anyway.
Because this it's so funny to me when one fan base in the SEC makes fun of another one for being hillbillies, because we're all from the South, except for Missouri. I don't know what they are. But all right, so here it is. Why was the toothbrush invented in Tuscaloosa?
I know, we know what that is.
Because if there were more teeth, or everybody had more than one tooth, it'd be called the teeth brush.
No, you missed. You just destroyed the punchline. So let's try again. Why was the toothbrush invented in Tuscaloosa?
I'm giving you a drum roll, please.
Because if it was invented anywhere else, it would be the teeth brush.
There
you go. It's a knock on grammar and lack of proper dental hygiene.
You can't get better with an insult. That's a really good slight at somebody. You got your English, slight. You got your toothless. I tell you where that joke, where I've heard it a lot, or in first, is this using the same thing in West Virginia. Now that actually is applicable there. I mean, God bless them. There's some. I had a dentist. He since moved, but I had a dentist.
Because you don't live in Alabama.
Yeah. I tried that. So I told my dentist that joke one time. He says, he looks at me. He says, I got family in West Virginia. He says, that is the truth. So God bless him, but.
That in England. Chris, great stuff, buddy. We'll talk to you soon. We always appreciate it. We'll talk to you later in the week, and I'll talk to you here in just a few minutes.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Take care. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Be sure and like, share, and subscribe. And I've made Jesse Smithy of 5-Star Preps the first time I told that joke, way back in goodness knows when. Laughed so hard that he had to take his headset off and take a break. But it's the funny part about all those country jokes is they could say it about Knoxville, and Columbia could say it about Oxford. That's why I love those jokes. But the double meaning of not knowing the language or not knowing, that's why I love that joke, and not having enough teeth.
That joke has been around forever and a day. I used to have
started it.
No, you didn't, because I used to have a T-shirt that had the 4 out of 5 dentists prefer like Alabama over Auburn, and it was a face of an Auburn player, like just like a little drawing, and he had like 2 teeth. And he was like, "What's a dentist?" It's been around. I got that when I was like 10.
But you see how it's a double meaning, because it really should be called the teeth brush.
The girl with the English degree in writing does see that.
Right. So there's what makes it so good. Brought to you by the Mattress Place. The Mattress Place is so good. 22 years on Chapman Highway, closer to downtown than you could possibly imagine. A+ accredited member of the Better Business Bureau, Marine Corps veteran owned, and no gimmicks, 30 to 70% off each and every day. It is absolutely phenomenal. The Mattress Place. Tell them that Off the Hook Sports sent you back in 2 minutes. Did we decide on today's tough question?
Yes, it's been out there.
Okay, well, we'll readdress that and get the message for bingo. We'll give away stuff. 2 minutes. Hang with me. Off the Hook Sports.
It's Gary Viles here, Viles Automotive on Callahan Drive. I've been selling cars here in East Tennessee for 27 years. In that time, I've come to realize it's not about the car. It's about you, the customer. So I'm here to take care of you just like family. Good credit, bad credit, you name it, we can get you taken care of. If we don't have it, we can find it for you. We go across the country to get any vehicle that you want. And here at Viles Automotive, we don't believe in fake numbers. We just give you great deals. And as always, we want, we need, and we appreciate your business.
Do you want to own the more that owns every job? Then get to Vassey Lawn and Garden in Cleveland and get you a Toro. I'm David Vassey, here to talk to you about Toro. With a Toro Zero Turn, you'll get more out of every minute and you'll reach the finish line faster. At Bassey's, we like to say, no matter if you're mowing 3 acres a week or 11 lawns a day, homeowners and business owners alike find confidence in equipment they can trust from top to bottom.
Bassey Lawn and Garden, Highway 60 North in Cleveland.
Man alive, it's worth the drive.
This is Steve Ray, and I own the Midnight Oil and Michelin Tire Direct service station here in Ottawa. It's not a fancy place, never has been, but it's a clean place with clean restrooms and good folks who work here. We sell gas and fix cars, nothing glamorous, but we love what we do, and we're going to keep doing it for a long time to come. There's not many real service stations left, and that's a shame. We're the guys just like the guys back in your hometown. We'll fix your tire, change your oil, and put a new set of Michelins on your car. If you want a Twinkie, you'll just have to keep on going. Thanks for the business.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare.
On your research.
We're working like heck.
Today's tough question. What's the real debate?
You sipping my soupe, Guadalupe?
Exclusively on Off the Hook Sports with Dave Hooker and Amanda LaFratta.
You drinking my sake, kimosabi?
Oh my God.
Today's tough question brought to you by Andy Mason, the realtor that you should call if you're buying or selling. I've said this before. We only endorse people that we have done business with or would do business with if we need their services. Well, I have done multiple transactions with Andy Mason. So AndyMasonRealEstate.com is where you need to go. I can tell you the two tenets of his business are pretty simple. Best service, best price. How about that? And he does it. I've told this story before. I did not know that my friend in high school, Andy Mason, was a realtor. So I went with someone else. Early in my youth, as they say in that one movie. What's that movie?
Oh, it's with oh crap.
Anyway,
I know it's about the uncle and
something about my cousin Vinny. So
yes.
Andy, I learned quickly. A realtor just wanted to churn and burn with me, and that's when my next purchase, I made it a point to call Andy Mason, and AndyMasonRealEstate.com is where you need to go if you're even thinking about buying or selling a home. Again, best service, best price. You're going to be absolutely blown away. That's AndyMasonRealEstate.com. So what is today's tough question? Richard says, greetings from Portland, Oregon. By comparison, is probably warm today. So, and Richard's up early too. All right. So be sure and like and subscribe and share, Richard. I'm talking to you. And Brittany's working on our This Day in Sports History. So everybody like and subscribe and share. Richard said, love your show. I appreciate that.
I hope you're staying safe in Portland, Richard. Hope you're staying safe.
What's going on in Portland? Something bad?
It's just all around just terrifying the last couple of years. So I hope you're staying safe.
I have learned through my traverses over this past year that there are some places Amanda just doesn't like.
No, it's not. I don't like it. It's just the crime.
Richard just responded with guns.
Yeah, there you go.
One word, no caps, no exclamation point, no period. Guns.
Lots of caps.
See what you did there.
Finger guns.
All right. So what is today's tough question? And I will vote.
Okay. Today's tough question. After seeing the details, should Jaylen McCullough be suspended against Alabama? And it is no, self-defense. Nah, but still not good. Yeah, you can't do that. And yes, that's inexcusable.
Oh, gosh, that is today's tough question, isn't it? Where are you going on this debate?
Me?
Yes.
Well, I'm going to go with what I typically say as far as what I said about Deshaun Watson, what I say about, other people in this situation. You can't punish someone until you know all of the details. That to me is just kind of common sense. You can't go out and automatically, an accusation is not an admission of guilt. A charge is not an admission of guilt. So you can't go out and punish this kid or the guy. I'm not going to say he's a kid because he's a professional athlete now, but you can't go out and punish him without all of the facts before you do that. That's not, our society is not guilty until proven innocent. It's innocent until proven guilty. So we have no idea what this other guy did because Jaylen McCullough didn't answer any questions. He had his Miranda rights read to him, and like any smart person, just shut up because he didn't have, a lawyer present. So you have no idea from his perspective what happened.
I'll tell you something that's so crazy. You shouldn't punch anybody, right? All right. And unless you're defending yourself.
Yep.
But okay, so he probably shouldn't have thrown the punch. But this is how much worse this could have been. He could have gone in his room, and remember this happened, and it made national news where a player would not open the door for the police until it wasn't an assistant coach. It was basically a guy who just, what's the word I'm looking for? Ran chores, just the word that I was given about him, I can't use, but it starts with a B. So,
like a manager.
Yeah, but he was just the guy who did the stuff that nobody else wanted to do. So he had to show up. And if you remember, this player was in his room with 3 women, and that's why it made national news. Played offensive line. And so he wouldn't open the door for the police. So if nothing else, take this away from this situation, is that Jaylen McCullough cares enough about his team where he came back to the scene of the crime when called. He didn't say anything. He knew how to handle himself, and he didn't make it much, much worse, because that can get much worse. We could be having a conversation right now about how he badmouthed police, and then I'm like, you're gone. Don't be a part of the program for a week. Get away because it's Alabama week. Now
He did the smart thing. Right. What everyone should do if police are involved, if you're being accused for something, if you're being charged, if they're arresting you, you don't say anything. You don't say anything. You wait till a lawyer is present. You don't say anything. Everybody just shut up and let them take you to wherever, and you get your lawyer involved, because you do not want to incriminate yourself. You just don't. You don't say anything. Everyone knows that. Everybody knows that.
Does anybody out there remember the play? Oh, I remember. Yeah, I remember. It was Josh McNeil. That's one way to get arrested. If you're going to get arrested, you really haven't done anything wrong. He had snuck into the back of his own apartment because he locked himself out, so he hadn't done anything wrong. And he's with 3 girls in his room. Yeah, I'm sure they were just playing Monopoly and not doing anything else.
Twister.
Okie dokie. I'm sure that's exactly what they were doing. So that went back a while, and that made national news. So I wonder what Josh McNeil is up to nowadays. We should give him a call. All righty.
I'm not playing Twister with him. I'm just letting you know.
Josh McNeil?
Yeah.
That was one of the I was really, really disappointed. That was one of the most surreal moments that I missed, because me and Austin Ward, who covers Ohio State now, we would split the beat. And I was always the one that was slightly better bouncing around and getting player interviews, while he would kind of stick with the press conference part. And so I was bouncing around getting player interviews, and Josh McNeil, against Tennessee Sports Information Direction, just walked in and said, "I've got something I want to say." And That, and you should have seen that. I missed it, and that's before everything was recorded. But you should have seen the look on all the media's faces when he came out of there to besmirch me by being with 3 women at the same time in my hotel room. It was nothing like that. We were playing
Twister.
You'll be in better
That's
shape.
why they were in all those
Yeah.
weird positions.
You'll be in better shape to play Twister, thanks to Nutrition World. That's where I get my supplements. You should too. Nutrition World has all the supplements you could possibly need at all the best prices. And Nutrition World, it's all over our website, so you can certainly find it. But Nutrition World, if you want to go to their website and you're hearing this verbally, you can go to nutritionw.com, nutritionw.com. They've been voted one of the best e-commerce stores in the biz when it comes to nutrition. So they're going to get the supplements to you, a vast array, no matter what you take, the vitamin B, the vitamin D, all that good stuff. So, Brittany, I thought you were going to have this day in sports history. Did I miss it?
It's message board bingo.
We're going to we're doing that too, but I'm thinking ahead. All right, so message board bingo is now your opportunity to win. What are we going to give away today? How about some chill pills? If you go to crafttreats.com, you can use Off the Hook as a promo code and get the chill pills that'll help with the digestive issues that your pet may have, also anxiety and arthritis and more. So that is crafttreats.com. Use the promo code use the promo code Off the Hook for the chill pills. So that's what we're going to give away today if you can beat me a message board bingo. So here's the way this shakes out. Message board bingo. Amanda will read a message that has been posted on a specific team board. If you can tell us who the team board is before I can, and I'll give you about 10 seconds or so, then you will win a gift pack from Craft Treats. And the chill pills are what we primarily talk about, but they've got other stuff, so I'll hook you up and be sure and take care of you. So let's go now. Message board bingo.
I do worry about our coach's coughing. He's been doing it for several weeks, and every time they showed him on the sideline, he was coughing.
I think I know who this is. I'm going to give you 10 seconds out there. Brittany's got my This Day in Sports History. I love Brittany. Daniel says Tennessee.
Daniel is correct. It is Tennessee.
That's what I was going to say as well. I thought it was Tennessee. He coughs a lot. I can't say anything because I got a bit of a raspy throat. So, Daniel, congratulations. I'll put my email in. We will hook you up. Oop, let's give him the wrong email. You can email me and I will hook you up with some chill pills and we'll take care of you. All right. So we got time for another one. Let's go. Let's give more stuff away. I love it. Ready?
All right. Let's make Quinn Ewers a $10 million NIL deal once he enters the transfer portal, of course, instead of paying our coach as much as we pay him.
I think I know who this is.
It's easy for you to say that, and then everybody on the message board guesses, and then you deduce what it is from the message board.
Okay, I'm not looking at the message board. My eyes are closed. You can see my eyes are closed. I'm going to type in who I think it is.
Okay.
So I just sent it to you. Am I right?
No.
Oh.
You're wrong.
Darn it. Okay. So we got OU, Oklahoma. That was my guess, RG1. We got Clemson. We got Ohio State. We got Texas A&M.
Who got Texas A&M? Because that is who it is.
Brittany got Texas A&M. Brittany, I know you don't have a dog. Do you have a cat? Do you want my dog? Do you want my cat?
No, she can't. Do you have a cat?
We have a cat that went from a stray to an outside cat to now lays on my pillow, and I'm allergic.
I have one more, and it's not for guessing because everyone probably knows who it is, but just one more that I want to read.
Okay.
An electrophysiomagnetic pulse is a low-intensity burst of a magnetic field at a frequency designed to scramble sensory electrons and disrupt the brain's electrocurrents. The result is an instantaneous and temporary loss of motor strength and muscle control. It's not a coincidence this person muffled the kickoff right by the sideline.
Muff the kickoff.
He said muffled.
Like a muffaletta. I know who that guy is. Have you ever had a muffaletta?
No.
It's like a really, really good sandwich. Like in New Orleans. I think I know where this is. It's gotta be LSU, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. He circles the guy on Tennessee's sideline that he thinks is doing this.
A quick second to say, everybody on the message board and everybody that's not on the message board, everybody listening, you guys are the reason we do this. And kudos to Tennessee fans for taking over Tiger Stadium. I never thought that would have happened.
Touché.
And not only that, but Josh Heupel pointed this out in the seats early. And it was just, I looked at my wife and I said, I don't know that I've seen this impressive of a display on the road. I've seen some good ones. I've seen Tennessee take over Vanderbilt, but that's Vanderbilt. But to take over Tiger Stadium the way Tennessee did was just phenomenal. And I didn't know it was going to be like that because I mentioned to you that tickets were still available out of Tennessee's allotment last week. So I didn't know the travel was going to be like that. And Byron Young said specifically when he was on the plane that he saw one of the videos of people traveling, and we saw one at the airport at Tyson McGee, and I saw another one, saw a couple of them throughout the weekend, and he said
Lots of bars.
Yeah, and they went down to New Orleans, which is one of the two places I never want to go again, that and Las Vegas.
I love New Orleans.
I don't want to go there again.
Okay.
I'm good.
Fair.
So kudos to you. You guys are why we do this. We love you guys. Please like, subscribe, and share. And I wouldn't say that if I didn't mean it. Okay, so Brittany has this day in sports history, which she's picked up a part-time job.
Apparently.
So, she'll have to send me her invoice at the end of the month. All right, so this day in sports history is now.
This day in sports history. Putting things in perspective, exclusively on Off the Hook Sports with Dave Hooker.
You're so old. When you were a kid, rainbows were black and white.
And Amanda LaFratta.
New Kids on the Block just called. They wanted you as a backup dancer.
Brittany gave me two this days in sports histories. She said that she loves New Orleans too, but not during Mardi Gras.
No, do not do that. Don't do that to yourself. I've never been during Mardi Gras. I've been just a normal, like, one random, like, weekend in, June or whatever it was. And dear Lord, don't do that to yourself. Do not go to Mardi Gras.
Now, I did that, and my two stories of Mardi Gras are falling asleep, because surely I didn't pass out, but falling asleep with the hotel door against me, and half my body was in the hotel room and half my body was outside. In the hallway, and I woke up. That was not a good look. And then the other one is, Amanda, I saw this young lady who was the sister of my best friend at the time, and she had a ton of beads. And you know how you get the beads. And
you buy them.
Yeah. Well, I said, Kim, where did you get all the beads? And she goes, I bought them. I said, no, you didn't. I said, no, you didn't. I said, I'm going to walk out of here and out of this store, and I'm going to take a right, and you're going to take a left. And we're never telling Chris about this ever.
Except for just now. Except for right now.
Well, we're not best friends anymore.
Oh, okay.
So yes, Chris, your sister is showing off her stuff. This day in sports history brought to you by Vassy Lawn and Garden. And Vassy Lawn and Garden this day in sports history. So Brittany, nice enough to supply us with that. Vassy Lawn and Garden, man alive, it's worth the drive. I don't care where you are. If you're listening in Nashville, where we're huge, or you are in Knoxville or Chattanooga, industrial mowers. They have the incredible commercial mowers, hedgers, trimmers, and residential. So this day in sports history, in 2015, Tennessee erased a 21-point deficit to beat Georgia 38-31 for the first win in the series since 2009. And that's a pretty strong one. So Brittany said you had another. Okay, here we got another one. Brittany said you had another. Okay, 2016. No, that was Brittany, I'm confused. Brittany said she had a typo. It was 2015. It was 7 years ago. Brittany, do I have all that right? Just tell me what I have right. At some point, Tennessee broke a streak against Georgia. I think that's what we learned there. Have a fantastic day, everyone. Will be 1964. Brittany, where's 1964? Just retype it in, because now if you're going back to 64, I want to know. That's even before I was born. So I want to know the 64 one. I'm scrolling up. You guys are so engaging. It's awesome. Oh, this one's super cool. Yeah, nice. 1964 quarterback Art Galiffa. I'll be honest with you, it's very unusual for me not to know someone's name or how to pronounce it or who that person was. It's tailback Hell Wantland for 1 touchdown, and linebacker Tom Fisher picks off another pass. This is back in 1964. Why is that significant? The first scores in the checkerboard end zones.
That's cool.
Yeah, I thought that was a super cool one. The first scores for the Vols in the new checkerboard pattern that Doug Dickey ordered for the end zones. You know, he did the T, and he did the walking horse, which is essentially about abusing an animal. And he did a lot of things tradition-wise that were good for Tennessee that people quickly. It is. You have to give the walking horse like spurs so it makes it walk and jerky.
Well, let's just rain on this parade right now. Let's just rain down on it.
So, complete coverage. In case you're just tuning in, we discussed the Jaylen McCullough situation, also Tennessee's big win over LSU. So feel free to restart it. Have a great time. We're a lot easier to stream than those Thursday night games. I'll tell you that. I'm already planning on how I'm going to get through that one. Have a
Chicago game this weekend, or Thursday. Way to go, Thursday. Get the worst games in NFL. Good job.
I wonder if that's by design, because they weren't sure the stream was going to work. Because I did hear about 4 or 5 people the first week said the stream didn't work. By the way, Kirk Herbstreit's phenomenal. Kirk Herbstreit's really good. And but Dan Orlovsky on the call. If there is anybody else better than Dan Orlovsky, show him to me, because I think he's the best. I think he is phenomenal. And he said he would vote for Hendon Hooker, the Heisman, the next day.
I'd vote for Hendon Hooker, the Heisman, right now. Hands down, I'd vote. Put money on it. I'd vote for him.
Well, since we have the same last name, I might vote for him as well. Or I'll get input from you on the ballot. So anyway, we'll be back at 8:30 tomorrow. Have a fantastic day, everyone. This has been a presentation